So, why did Cathie Wood sell so much Palantir stock on Friday? That's the question of this video. I want to give you a simple, to the point answer in 2, maximum 3 minutes, not longer. So, on Friday, we found out that she sold a big chunk of her Palantir position. In fact, a significant one. Now, this is definitely not trimming her position. This is a huge deal for her. A lot of money, a lot of stock. And obviously, that did not help the avalanche that we saw in the share price on Friday. In fact, I'm assuming this was quite a heavy contributor to that. So the real question is, why would she do that? Now, the easiest thing for us to be is to hate on Cathie, like Jim Cramer does. Now, Jim Cramer flips more than a winner schnitzel. The dude liked her a year before, now he hates her. He's just a shark smelling some blood in the water. I don't care. So the question is, what is her mental process? Why she's doing that? And basically, it's really hard for me to justify what she did based on the things she said so far. So Cathie Wood and ARK Invest positioned themselves so far as deep value, high growth, high disruption investors. Basically, her investment horizon is 5 years onwards. So she doesn't care about price action, and basically very similar to what I've been saying about Palantir. Now, earlier, I made a tweet saying, hey, I think this latest price action on Palantir is going to expose a lot of these so-called long-term investors for what they truly are. And I feel like it kind of what happened with Cathie Wood, because if you look at the fundamentals, nothing really changed. The Q4 financials were stellar. EPS miss, earnings per share miss, is meaningless because it's an accounting thing. And they made $1.55 billion in revenue, which was 41% growth. They made 424 in operational margin, free cash flow. So 30 cents on the dollar net operating margin without the stock-based comp, which is not really cash flow. It's a tax benefit for the company. So the people who understand that definitely saw that the financials were great, but because it said miss on the EPS, people sold off. So I think her selling off is basically exposing her a little bit for not being such a long-term investor. Unless she lost faith in Palantir. Basically, something happened that basically made her lose her faith in Palantir. In that case, I would say, well, that's legitimate. Even if you're a long-term investor, if something happens materially changing your position, basically saying, hey, I no longer have that faith for the deep value in the next 5 years, it's okay. It's fair that she sold. But honestly, I haven't seen anything in the reports that suggest otherwise. There's nothing in the reports to say that, and I haven't heard anything of that sort. In fact, the reports only make me more bullish because I see the growth in the commercial sector actually strengthening. They did 130% commercial growth in the US, 34% overall, 47% growth on the government side. The numbers are phenomenal. So I was really confused and I was asking some friends, and nobody really knows the answer for this until just a few minutes ago, I saw a post from Cathie Wood. It's a note that she, I guess, sent out. And it says, hey, we saw that the Palantir government growth is decelerating. Essentially, what I've mentioned in my video is that the pace at which the Palantir government section is growing is slowing down. So they started the year with 76%, and they finished the year with 26% per quarter. I have my notes here, right here. I can look at it if you guys want. So they went from 76 to 66 to 34 to 26. So it's a massive slowdown in the government growth section. So she's basically putting out a note saying, hey, so we saw this slowdown in growth and we think it materially changes what's going on between them and the government. They're losing their government business, blah, blah, blah. And that's basically, she was implying that's why they're selling. But that actually makes me even more confused, because if you're a deep value, high growth, high disruption investor in Palantir, why would you even give a rat's ass about the government business? Nobody that's in Palantir for the long term actually cares about the government business. We're all focused on the commercial side. The government business has a low ceiling. It's already pretty much maxed out. There's not a lot of growth opportunities there. So we all look at the commercial sector. So again, there's a lot of contradictions in what she says, what she does, and her saying that she's selling out because of the government sector also makes no sense for a high growth, commercially focused investor. So honestly, I don't know. Something happened that changed her mind, or she got freaked out, spooked out. In any case, whatever the reason may be, I think that the latest price action is actually healthy for the company. One of the biggest problems with Palantir is the composition of their shares. Right now, we have 65% of the Palantir shares being held by retail investors, people who are not there for the long term for the most part. Obviously, some retail investors are like me, they are long term, plenty of those, but there's a big percentage that's not. And it's not really healthy for the company. If you look at a company like Nvidia or a company like Snowflake, they have about 70% of institutional investments. Palantir only has 35. It's way too low. They're going to get fixed. The company's going to be volatile like we seen last week. Every little fart is going to send the stock flying up or down. And what's happening now with the price pushing downwards, we're going to squeeze out a lot of these guys. And what's going to happen, unfortunately, for the retail investors is that the institutional investors will do what they do best. They're going to come in at $10 or $9 or whatever it's going to be, scoop it up for cheap when everybody hates it, and they're going to hold on to it until sentiment changes, and they're going to resell it to the same people who are selling now at $20, $30 per share. It's exactly why institutionals always win, because they come in when the sentiment is negative. It's like Warren Buffett said, when everybody is fearful, I'm greedy. When everyone's greedy, I'm fearful. They're literally going to do this to the same people who are hating on Palantir right now. But, for me, the truth is quite simple. Palantir is either going to make me a multimillionaire or it won't. I won't know, neither will you, for the next 5 to 10 years. I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to ride it through, no matter how insanely bumpy this ride is. And I'm assuming it's going to be like riding around one of those 1970s buses in South America on the cliff with like chickens and goats inside the bus. It's going to be pretty much crazy and life-threatening. But I'm going to ride it out to see what happens at the end. And I think a lot of the people who were saying that the long-term in this don't have the stomach for this ride. So we'll see what happens. Sayonara. Vaya con Dios.